So we got two fight cards today. The boxing card headlined by Natasha Jonas versus Mikaela, and UFC 297 headlined by Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. And for any YouTube boxing fans, there's a Misfits 12 fight card on as well. But I'm only going to be breaking down the boxing fight and the UFC 297 card. The first fight of the day will be Natasha Jonas versus Mikaela. Looking at the tail of the tape, Natasha Jonas is 39, Mikaela Mayer is 33. Natasha Jonas is 5'8", Mayer 5'9". Natasha Jonas has a slight reach advantage by 2 inches. Natasha Jonas has 14 wins, 9 by knockout, 2 losses, 1 by knockout, and 1 split decision draw. While Mikaela Mayer has 19 wins, 5 knockouts, 1 loss. Mikaela Mayer is the former unified super featherweight champion. Her 1 loss coming to Alicia Baumgardner. She's been on a 2-win streak ever since, leaving super featherweight, and she's moving up to welterweight to challenge Natasha Jonas for her IBF world title. Mikaela Mayer is going to have a slight height advantage, and she does have 6 years youth on Natasha Jonas. She doesn't have as much knockout power. She does have more professional fights, and I would say she has better wins than Natasha Jonas does. But since moving to welterweight, she's looked a bit slower, she's looked a little less aggressive, and in fairness, this is only after 2 wins after a loss to Alicia Baumgardner, but she'll need to keep Natasha away from her, use her jab, move around more than she normally likes to. But Natasha likes to fight on the inside too, and Natasha, I think, has the speed advantage. She's also more accustomed to the weight than Mayer is. Natasha is 39, so there is a worry that her age might eventually catch up to her, but she has looked pretty good in her last few fights. She just beat Candy Wyatt for the IBF belt, but that was not a very competitive fight, and Candy Wyatt is nowhere near the level of Mikaela Mayer. And although Natasha has 2 losses, one of them was very early on in her career. She did get stopped, dropped twice by Vivian Abanouf, and her other loss coming to Katie Taylor in a pretty close decision. She also has a draw with Terry Harper. It's a split decision draw. Really good fight. Could have gone either way. She might have the reach advantage, but she typically just likes fighting on the inside. And like I said before, she might be faster than Mayer on the inside, but that's also if she can get on the inside, or if Mayer just lets her on the inside and chooses to have a brawl with her. If Mikaela Mayer can find her distance, use her jab, avoid multiple brawls, and find the aggression she once had, I would probably favor Mayer in this fight. With Natasha Jonas having fought it this way before or heavier, she looks very comfortable, she looks pretty aggressive. I'm slightly edging this fight for Natasha Jonas to win a decision against Mikaela Mayer. Moving on to UFC 297, the card starts off with Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. I probably pronounced that wrong, my bad. Arnold Allen is 19-2, coming off a loss to Max Holloway, and Evloev is 17-0, with 7 of those wins coming from inside the UFC. But I think Arnold Allen is being slightly overlooked in this fight, because before his last fight with Max Holloway, he was on a 10-win streak, and both him and Max had a very good striking battle. I thought it was 3-2, I thought Max won 3 of the rounds, but I thought Arnold Allen looked really good. He was just slightly slower than Max was, so Max was able to catch him a lot more. But looking at Evloev, he's on a 17-win streak, 3 wins by knockout, 4 by submission. He's looked pretty good in his last few fights, and with all 7 of his wins inside the UFC coming by decision. He's a pretty good striker, little slow, typically moves in a lot of straight lines, but he's pretty good defensively. He has some good takedowns, showed some pretty good submission defense against Lopez. And with Arnold Allen, we haven't seen a lot of him on the ground. He's been quite inactive. He hasn't fought since April. He's typically not that active. But Arnold Allen has 7 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. He's got pretty good striking, he moves laterally, and he has a pretty good blitz. He landed some good shots on Holloway, but also with that blitz, as much as he landed some good shots on Holloway, and some good shots on Dan Hooker, his World War III attitude of just going for the knockout sometimes has cost him 2 knockdowns against both Holloway and Hooker. But like I said, I do think he's being overlooked a bit as just a decent striker for Evloev to beat. I do think Allen's striking is superior, but if Movsar can remain calm, possibly find a few takedowns, and see if he can hold Allen down, that might be a key to victory for him to try and win by decision. But I do think if it stays on the feet, Allen will get the better of the striking exchanges. I think he throws a bit more. I think that was one of the things he probably learned against Max Holloway, but to also throw calculated shots and not just to throw just to throw. I think this is going to be a close fight, one I could see going either way. I could see Movsar winning a decision, I could see Allen winning a decision, but I'm leaning towards the underdog, and I'm probably going to take Arnold Allen to win a close decision. The next fight being Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Might also have pronounced that wrong, my bad. Chris Curtis is 30-10, 1 no contest. Barriault is 16-6, 1 no contest. Barriault is 3 inches taller. Chris Curtis has an 1.5 inch reach advantage. I don't have a lot to say about this fight. Marc-Andre is a bit more dangerous. He's got 10 knockouts, 1 submission. Chris Curtis has got 17 knockouts, 1 submission. Should be a pretty good brawl, but I just think Chris Curtis is a bit more defensively sound. He should stop any takedown attempts Marc-Andre might throw at him. And like I said, it'll probably turn out to be a bit of a brawl. But Marc-Andre, when he starts brawling, usually puts his hands down a bit low. And I think Chris Curtis will probably just wait to try and counter. I could see this being a stoppage, and I could see this going to points. I'm going to take Chris Curtis by a 2nd or 3rd round TKO. The next fight is Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. Neil Magny has kind of just lately been the UFC's way of testing a prospect to see how good they really are. He lost a unanimous decision to Ian Gary. He has a submission loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, but he's never easy to finish. It should be a good test to see if Mike Malott is truly it, especially since he has a 100% finish rate. For anyone who doesn't know, Mike Malott is 10-1-1. He's on a 6-fight win streak, 4 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. He's got 3 wins in the UFC, all 3 of course by finish. First fight was a KO, his 2 other fights were by submission, 2 in the first round, and his last fight was a submission in the second round. I think Mike Malott is truly the real deal, and I think the UFC truly wants to push him to be the new face of the Canadian market. He's got some decent striking. I don't think he's going to panic if he gets taken down. He's got some good wrestling, some good submissions. But it'll be interesting to see if Mike Malott can even get to a finish. Neil Magny's not easy to finish, and Mike Malott having a 100% finish streak, fighting in his home country of Canada, will want to perform, put a show on for the crowd. You may be worried he might chase the finish, but in his other fights, he seemed composed and let the finish come to him. So like I said, it'll be more interesting to see if he can get to the finish, if it presents itself, and if he can capitalize on it. But yes, I'm taking Mike Malott to finish by submission. Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Bueno Silva for the vacant women's bantamweight title. Raquel Pennington has fought all the big names at her division, and this is probably her last push for a title fight. She's on a 5-win streak, and she's got some decent striking, but Mayra Bueno Silva has just looked very solid in her last few fights. She also has some decent striking. I don't think she has a ton of knockout power, but her submission game has been really good. She submitted Holly Holmes in her last fight, and she as well is on a 4-win streak. And like the Chris Curtis fight, I don't have much to say, but I am feeling confident in a Mayra Bueno Silva win, and by submission as well. And to the main event itself, Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight championship. These two just last year were both seen as massive underdogs who had no chance to win their next fights. But then Dricus shocked everyone when he knocked out Robert Whittaker, and Sean Strickland shocked everyone when he knocked down and outpointed Israel Adesanya, and doing it all by striking. Dricus du Plessis has 9 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission. He's got the longest win streak in the middleweight division currently with an 8-win streak. He's 20-2, and he's got a pretty big frame for middleweight. Dricus du Plessis is one of those fighters that I've just been waiting for him to lose. I never really liked his striking. He always looked a little off balance, looked a little nervous, quick to throw his guard up, almost looked kind of amateur, but he just keeps finding a way to win and to keep surpassing the odds. I thought there was no way that he was going to beat Whittaker. Not only did he just win by finish, but I gave him the first round. And the second round where he got the finish. He just looked really solid. He believed in the game plan. He had some good kicks. a good takedown at the end of the first. And since his nose surgery, we don't really know if that'll play a part in his cardio, but that could, because this is his first 5-round fight in the UFC. We've never seen him go 5 rounds in the UFC, and he has been known to gas a bit. But that's where Sean Strickland thrives, is he's had multiple 5-round fights on fight night cards, on pay-per-view fights, and he just never seems to gas, and he'll take advantage if he can see you are about to gas. He's comfortable going the distance. He doesn't have a lot of knockout power. He does have 11 wins by knockout, 4 by submission, but he's 28-5. But even with those 5 losses, 1 to Cannonier, which was a split decision, another fight that could have gone either way, a knockout loss to Alex Pereira, who is currently the light heavyweight champion, former middleweight champ, who's had an unbelievable combat sports career. Definitely not Sean's best performance, but not someone I'm going to hold a loss against him to. And if you want to go far back, he also has a loss to Kamaru Usman when he was back in welterweight, but that's all the way back to April 8th of the Cormier vs. Johnson 2 undercard. Sean Strickland has been on a roll. Sean Strickland is on a 3-win streak, had a clear victory over Imavov, had a 2nd-round stoppage against Abus Magomedov, and also put on one of the biggest upsets in UFC history when he beat Israel Adesanya. Sean is clearly the better striker, but I wouldn't say he has as much knockout power. And Dricus has a far bigger frame, so he can probably impose some of that weight onto Sean. This is a close fight. I have gone back and forth on this fight constantly. I could see Dricus winning a close win on points. I could see Dricus getting an early stoppage, 2nd, 3rd round maybe. But I could also see Sean stopping Dricus if Dricus doesn't manage his energy level well enough. But I could also see Sean winning on points if he keeps Dricus on the fence, and if Sean can hold the center of the octagon. Striking wise, Sean needs to learn from his mistakes against the Jared Cannonier fight and try to threaten Dricus enough and be active enough that you don't want Dricus to get comfortable. And vice versa, for Dricus, he doesn't want Sean to get comfortable. Sean did look a little nervous at the start of the Israel Adesanya fight, but then clearly once he started getting comfortable, then it just became a very easy run-of-the-mill win for Sean. Yeah, I keep going back and forth on this one. The odds tell you everything, but my gut keeps telling me that we'll have a new middleweight champion. I'm going to take Dricus du Plessis, and I'm not even going to predict whether it's by stoppage or by points. This fight's really close. I could see it going either way, but let me know what you guys think about these fights. Who do you think's going to win? How do you think they're going to win? Let's have a civil conversation in the comments. And then hopefully you'll come back where we could talk about the results of all the fights tomorrow.